G'day, Spike here, and I really got to begin at the beginning with this thought, which is conscious sublimation, understanding all of the elements of our lives are consistently sublimated to enable us into action, decision, choice, and eventually consequence. And what came to me from Source today is that the current state of the world is really messy. There's a lot of unsublimated decisions, unconscious sublimations that enable people to share information that is categorically unacceptable. Like when you really look at the universe of thought being socioeconomic, political economic, enviroeconomic, techno-economic influences on everything that we do and say and think. And then you add a layer of bias, being heuristic and unconscious or emotional biases from the things that you experienced and felt and really get in your way sometimes, and the heuristics being things you've learned and mastered and studied and truly care about. How do these things shape your choices that lead you to the consequences of your actions, intentions, thoughts, or in the physical world, ethereal world? How you think, how you decide, how you move forward, how do you sublimate? So, sublimation being, in scientific terms, moving from a solid state to a liquid state to a gas state. And through that cycle, we go in flow our entire lives. Sublimation, everything we learn, everything we experience, every culture we interact with, every meal that we have, every new flavor of spice, be it a flavor of, an essence of, an energy of a person, place, or thing, we develop these biases that just allow us to do the most unbelievably awesome or ostentatious or abominable things in the world. And without putting it in one zone, in one region for right now, I decided to take my own life, my own experience, my own biases, my own chronology, and sublimate that into a cool little tool I just created. I call it a decision dissolver. So it's like a mini GPT that I built on the AHP process, the analytical hierarchy process, which is a beautiful sort of math that was introduced to me by a friend named Pascal. And he had produced a thesis on the AHP process. And when it came to my mind, to my awareness, I started to break down a lot of my goals, a lot of my values, a lot of my unconscious competences into bite sizes so I can understand why and what for they came to be and why they remain and why they are relieved of power in my life. I created this thing just yesterday, the decision dissolver, and I share it out to my social media. And on my drive this morning to grab a coffee, I had recorded a couple commentaries on why I think that thing is, but as I traveled and listened to a few news articles and flipped to some music, and I find a new sublimation, where what I created is much more important than what I can do for myself. So therefore, I want to share and be of service to as many people as possible that are indecisive, where they stand on an issue, where they have an indecision, where they allow the algorithm possibly to paint their character in a way that, after further sublimation, after further thought, after further consideration, they may decide another way. So I created this thing that I hope many of you will choose to use to decipher what may be holding you back from making a choice. All choices have consequences, and from our consequences, we make adjustments, like feedback always provides an opportunity for adjustments. And as we get more conscious and calculated about the choices that we make, we gain traction in our lives and we start to move forward. And I want everyone to move forward in a very conscious way from this place in time into something that is more loving. There's a lot of negative energy floating around the interweb today, and it's really inconvenient. But if everybody would choose to pose a difficult question to the decision dissolver and come to a very clear conscious space on what side of the issue they actually fall on, we can start to recalibrate our community. And why that's important to me, like I had just completed a chronology. I created this huge document in Canva where it takes out 1977 to 2023 and about 12 different categories and allows you to fill in the blanks from things like world events and relationships and challenges and how you demonstrated resilience and places you've traveled to and education. And as I calculated this chronology, I realized I've got this strong bias towards being of service. That's how I succeed. That's how I survive, is be of service to the people and the communities around me. I created my whole business out of that really uncomfortable place of not feeling like I belong because I move so often. My language is different. My thought processes have been different. And before I have the chance to integrate and assimilate, I had been moved, like mom to dad, aunt to uncle to grandparents to this town, that city, this country, that place, the travels of my life. I learned something new. I gained new perspectives. I learned more biases. I learned to democratize my thoughts with the position that I'm in. And I believe a lot of people are doing that same thing and not having the psychological tools or therapy or therapists or coaches or gurus in their regular friends groups to really synergize or sublimate a lot of the thoughts, a lot of experience, a lot of learning into something that reconstitutes traction in their lives. As I seek discomfort, as I often do, I dug into this process of creating my own GPT, and it's called the Decision Dissolver, and I'll put a link for it in the description of this video. And I hope a lot of people will take to task the idea of becoming more resolute and not just flippant or insensitive when they're sharing information or thoughts, but sublimated fully. Sigmund Freud did a study on sublimation. I actually think he coined the term years ago, and there was one study that stood out that I observed through a YouTube video of a young boy that liked to cut the tails off dogs. And most people would assume, hey, that's a psychopath. People that hurt animals, and not cool. But that person eventually sublimated their interest in the biology of things and the way flesh and blood and nerves and systems of biology interested him, and sublimated into becoming a world-renowned surgeon. And that is so interesting that as it came to my own process today, through my morning pages, through the chronology, through the AHP process, and trying to disseminate all of this gaseous, ethereal thought and process and function, and why and what for these thoughts come upon me and these actions become fully intentional, that I put to task so often and have no outlet for other than share another video on social media and hope it gets some traction, and hopefully people understand that there's an inventory you can do, and there's a tool that I created, two of them, right? The chronology and the AHP, accompanied with some good habits of journaling or morning pages, can help you sublimate absolutely before you make your next big decision. And if it's a big decision or a little decision, I hope you use this tool in a constructive way to help you resolve some of the things you may be challenged by, be it physical or health or spiritual or relational, that you actually get out of your own way, break the habit of being yourself, and be decisive. And I hope I've created something that will help you be decisive and get some more traction in your life. I'm working on the same. I've got to get a lot more traction from all of these conversations I'm not having with anybody else but a machine. I wish you luck. Wish me luck as well. See you on the water, eh?